All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another departmental deep dive on Facebook. My name is Tom Kresh. I'm the Associate Director of Communications here in the admissions office. I am joined by some of the best and brightest from the political science department. I've been fortunate enough to get to know most of these people here prior to them starting their illustrious careers. So again, I certainly appreciate them joining us tonight. And I certainly appreciate you in the audience joining us tonight. I know everyone has a lot going on. And like I said, this should be a good opportunity for you to learn more about the political science department and how it could set you up for success. The event itself should take around 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to start off with a presentation from Dr. Dorchler, the program chair, and then we're going to open it up to a panel Q&A with some of our recent alums. This is being recorded for later use, so if you can only watch part of it, we'll be sure to repost this to our account later on tonight. If anyone in the audience has any questions, I encourage you to type it onto the Facebook post, and I'll be sure I get that to the group. But before we go any further, let's meet the crew here. We can start with Dr. Dorchler.
Hi, good evening.
Oh, Pete, would you mind? I'm sorry. I guess I should have set the stage a little more. Could you introduce yourself? How you heard about Bloomsburg? How long you've been here? Yeah, that should work.
Sure. My name is Pete Dorchler, and as Tom said, I'm the chair of the political science department. I've been at Bloomsburg for 13 years, and with the last COVID year, it feels like another 10 years added on to that. I've taught all kinds of courses, and I know the three students with us tonight quite well because I've had them in class, and it feels like a mini reunion tonight. I'm really happy to join you tonight and talk to you about the department and answer any questions that you have.
All right, great. Thank you, Pete. I appreciate it. Deanna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deanna Campion. I attended Bloomsburg University from 2015 to 2019. Changed my major many times before I finally settled on political science and communication studies. And now I work for the Pennsylvania House of Representatives on the House Democratic Policy Committee. And it's been great so far. Happy to be on here and see some familiar faces and rep Bloomsburg as I used to back in the day as an admissions office student worker and tour guide.
So Deanna, I'm a little disappointed that when you were running through your resume of who you are as a person, that the tour guide wasn't the first thing that came out. I mean, that's the most important part of this. That really sets you up for success, right?
I know. I always wanted to be a tour guide. I'm such a social person, and I love, having people listen to me talk. It's one of my favorite hobbies. And I thought, why not get paid doing it while talking about a university that I love so much? And yeah, I miss it a lot. Being in the admissions office really formed who I am as a person now, as a fully functioning adult. I owe it all to the admissions office and the political science department.
All right. I appreciate you waxing poetic. I'm picking up on a hint of sarcasm just a little bit. All right, great. Thanks, Deanna. Sam.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? My name is Sam Nagel. I graduated from Bloomsburg in 2019, feels like ages ago now, with my degree in political science, but I decided I wanted to do some more. So I went back for another year and I graduated with my master's degree in 2020, just this past August, which was my MBA. And to please TK, I worked as a grad admissions officer, and I worked alongside TK, which was some of the best times of my life, right?
Yeah, again, and not a hint of sarcasm. I appreciate that. And Eli.
Yeah, my name's sorry, my bad. Eli Leggett. I graduated Bloomsburg 2020 back in May. I was also a tour guide for TK. Definitely the top of my resume right there.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I was in the political science department as well. So I had classes with Sam and Deanna. But now I'm currently at West Virginia University for law school. I'm in my first year here.
Eli Leggett, attorney at law, right? Are we printing the business cards yet?
Nah, but the billboards are up. If you look around,
the billboards are up.
Yeah.
To me, one of the coolest professional titles one could have is Esquire. That's such a cool,
You can't top that. You can't.
No, honestly, that's kind of that. I mean, really,
especially like fancy cursive font. Like it's unmatched. It really is.
There's nothing better than that, other than college professor, right? So we're going to go ahead and get started. Dr. Dorschler has just a brief presentation here for the group, just to give you a nice overview of Bloomsburg in the poli-sci department. And go ahead, Dr. Dorschler.
Yeah, thanks again for joining us. And I'm going to give you a relatively short overview of the political science department. So we'll go ahead and start. Let me first tell you about the coursework. We offer courses in a range of different areas in political science. It's a very diverse field. Those include things like U.S. government, probably what you're most familiar with. If you had a civics course in high school, that would be a continuation or maybe a deeper dive into that subject. And political ideologies, where political science and philosophy cross paths, and you learn about some of the great ideologies like liberalism, conservatism, and socialism. International relations, which is relations between countries, think U.S.-China relations, and then a whole host of other things. I would point to the very bottom to current issues, which we weave into all of our courses, but we also have specific courses that look at issues in American and international politics. Those are very popular courses, and they're really designed to, get you to think about current things that are happening. And of course, there's nothing happening right now, so they're probably not very interesting courses. But no, of course, we're on the front edge of everything happening, and that's where we want to be.
And Deanna, if I'm not mistaken, I believe one of the people on this slide looks somewhat familiar. Do they not?
Yeah, that's me with State Representative Tara Toohill, who represents Luzerne County, primarily the Hazleton area, which I'm not from Hazleton. I'm from an even smaller town outside of Hazleton, but I actually interviewed her for a project that I had to complete with the internship I did at the House that ended up leading me to the job I have now with the House of Representatives. So it's kind of a whole big domino effect, but yeah that's on the House floor. It was a cool day.
Great photo.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'd like to introduce you to the rest of the department here. You can see that we're 5 full-time faculty members, and we're a diverse group. Starting on the far left is Dr. Bango, originally from Ghana, and he teaches courses in African politics, comparative politics, public administration. Next to him is Professor Deffenderfer, who teaches courses in American politics, women in politics, and our very popular campaigns and elections course, which just finished up this past semester, and you might imagine that there was a little bit to talk about in that course. And then next to her is Dr. Strine. He teaches courses in constitutional law, which are very popular for students, contemplating going on to law school. We do get a lot of interest in that area, and Dr. Strine offers courses in constitutional law, judicial process, and a specialized course on writing a constitution. So it's a core piece of our curriculum. Next to Dr. Strine is Dr. Ding. He teaches courses in international politics, Asian politics, international law. And then myself, I'm a comparativist. I teach comparative politics, European politics, and the very popular research methods course that everybody loves.
So what is legendary? Go. And Dr. Dorschler, what is comparative politics? So you mentioned that a couple of times.
Yeah, sure. Comparative politics is the domestic politics of countries outside the United States. So my area of focus, for example, is Germany. And so I study German politics, just like you would study American politics, Congress, the presidency, the Constitution, and so on. I study those things in Germany. And so there's a lot of comparison that happens in comparative politics because we're trying to assess and evaluate how countries' political systems are different from each other, whether they're democratic or authoritarian, whether they have a parliamentary system, presidential system, etc. So it's really a core piece of our field to understand what other countries' political systems look like.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so what makes a good student? These are a few of the things that we would point to. Number one, an interest in current events. And as I mentioned with those specialized courses that we offer, I think most of the students that we attract to our major are just interested in things that are happening out there in the world. Certainly in the domestic context, a lot of the recent events surrounding the election, pre-election, post-election, think about COVID. There's a lot of politics behind COVID, whether or not the state should enforce restrictions. What about opening up schools for in-person instruction? A lot of those types of things are political because they involve decisions and decisions around the exercise of power. So we study pretty much anything. Any kind of phenomenon out there that involves a decision has some sort of politics behind it. What else makes a good student? Getting involved in community action groups, clubs in high school. A lot of our students have been involved in like a speech and debate team, a Model United Nations program. Some schools have student clubs that are interested in kind of social events in their communities. So these are things that cultivate a lot of interest in politics, and students often come to us with that interest already in place. Issues. Each of us can probably point to a specific issue that really drives our interest in politics, be it healthcare, which is, of course, front and center for a lot of us right now. If we have friends and family that are, experiencing, health issues or hardships because of COVID, immigration, which was a central issue with this last administration, climate change, which is, always present and something that is a huge challenge to overcome. So those are really important issues. And then interest in making the world a better place. That's what is really center in politics, is trying to make a better world, essentially. We have lots of issues, challenging issues to overcome, and we're all in it to hopefully make decisions that are going to improve the well-being of our communities and our friends and family. Clubs and organizations, I did mention a few of these already, but I'll highlight the first two at the top. The forensics team at Bloomsburg is recognized far and wide for their excellence. They have won a number of awards, and I think you see the bottom picture there on this slide showcases a typical conference where students will walk away with many plaques and awards and things like that. So that is not an uncommon event at all. Dr. Strine, one of my colleagues I mentioned a few slides back, he is the director of the forensics team. Students go on typically 3 to 4 conferences a semester, and they earn a credit for that. So you can earn academic credit by going to speech and debate conferences, improving your debate skills, your public speaking skills. So this is actually a really popular club for students looking to go to law school, because they want to sharpen those types of skills. And I think a lot of them would point back to the forensics team as an experience that really enhanced the kinds of skills that enable them to be successful in law school and beyond. The Model United Nations Club has also been around for a long time. It's been very popular. We hold simulations for high school students here on campus. We also go to our own conferences where we participate in mock UN debates and tournaments. And a lot of students are very interested in this because they get to talk about international issues that matter to them. It could be a nuclear North Korea, it could be climate change or an immigration crisis, all sorts of things like that. We have a number of other clubs too, as you can see, sort of partisan organizations, the Republicans and Democrats. Pi Sigma Alpha is an honor society that a lot of students, graduate with honors from, and use that on a resume to really enhance your ability to land a job or get into a graduate school. and the Political Science Student Association, effectively known as PASA. It's a great social organization where students can come together. It's nonpartisan, talk about politics, and do educational things, host a speaker, go on a field trip to Washington, D.C., that sort of thing. Professional experiences. What you see in front of you is a list of internships that our students have been on just within the last 5 to 7 years approximately. So you can see that the internship experiences are very diverse. And it's also true that many of our students go on internships. It's actually an embedded piece in our curriculum. Students have to go on either an internship or complete a capstone thesis. The majority of students choose an internship, and you can actually do both if you want to. So we have some students who do sort of international related internships. The Peace Corps would be a great example of that. We have students interested in particular issues like climate change. EarthShare is an organization that a current student is actually interning with through the Washington Center. And the Washington Center is an organization through which we send many of our interns based in DC. We probably send every year 6 to 8 students probably through the Washington Center. You get all your credits transferred. And we have some great scholarships available for students to go to Washington Center internships. You live in DC for a semester and you have a great experience, and you can intern with an organization like EarthShare. The Krevsky and Rosen Law Office is something I'd also point out. We have relationships with a number of law offices, both locally, and Krevsky Rosen is actually in Harrisburg. So for students interested in law school, we have those kind of connections to kind of help you land the internship that will further your career and help you for law school. So this is a nice example of the types of internships and organizations we deal with where students intern and gain that next piece of experience. This is, I don't know how well you can read this, but this is a few examples of the research that our students have conducted over the last few years. And our students are very, very active, not only in the clubs and in the internships and doing their homework, but doing research. And that's what political scientists do. They conduct research, and all of the students here, the panelists that you met just a few minutes ago, they've all been through the coursework that will enable them to conduct research. And that's actually critical for you out there in the working world to develop the sorts of skills, quantitative reasoning skills, writing skills, communication skills that are going to impress employers, that are going to get your foot in the door and perhaps that look for a job. So we have been very successful in taking students to academic conferences and presenting our research with them. So we're very proud of that. And that highlights a few of the examples right there on the page.
And real quick, just for the students in the group, what were your research topics?
Oh,
Sam.
we have many. There actually, you can find a fuller list on our website if you go there. But I'd highlight the first one at the very top is really interesting. Professor Deffendorfer, if you remember back to the faculty page, I introduced her briefly to you. And then a student, Nick McGuire is a former student who's actually in law school as well. And the two of them are writing a book together. And this presentation is part of that book project. And the book project is all about, you can tell from the title there, the US territories, and there are 5 US territories. And they started looking into it and realized that very little has ever been written about the 5 US territories, about their, as you can see, political, economic, social conditions. And they're like, we should write a book. And they have the book contracted with a pretty reputable publisher, and they've written many of the chapters, and they've sort of taken the typical step that an academic would take, which is to present pieces of the research at academic conferences. So it's a huge accolade for Nick McGuire, and it sort of shows how closely our professors work with our students to develop a project like this. So something we're very proud of.
And for the students in the group, can you recall what your what your research projects were? Are there any books forthcoming from any panel members? Sam, you want to go first?
Yeah, no books for me, but I remember in in research methods, I actually did my research project was on how people's religion affects their politics. As you can imagine, it's quite extensive.
Sure.
But I'm pretty sure Dr. Dorsler gave me an A on that one, so maybe I should write a book. To see.
Hey,
You could have, yeah. So
Sam, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, gosh.
Come on.
That's where all the money is.
There you go. That's right. Yeah. Deanna.
I didn't do a capstone research project,
Okay.
and I only did one for class and for research methods, the course, and I can't think of the title off the top of my head of what I did my research paper about.
What was the subject?
I honestly couldn't remember. Honestly, I'd have to go back and look. I'd have to go deep down in the archives to see what the topic was.
Whatever it was, it had a profound impact on your professional development. I'm sure.
No question. No question.
Okay. All right. Good. Eli.
I think I did mine on like how politics or how like people's races, I think, in America, like all the different races voted, and if it was like a substantial difference between different races. I did like all the research, but I typed it like the whole night before from like 7 p.m. to like 10 a.m. the next day.
The truth comes out.
Yeah. I felt like I was safe at this point to say it.
So just a little disclaimer, kids.
Yeah,
don't try that at home.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
That's why I said it. I was saying the bad example. I was saying don't do that.
Yes.
I ended up changing my topic about 7 or 8 times before I finally settled on one at the very last possible moment when I had to lock into a topic. So that's maybe why it's not sticking out in my brain so well.
Just rattling around. Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Career paths. Political science is not the type of field that links up to a single career. I think of accounting that way, or maybe engineering, something like that, right? Where there's a very specific and direct career path for those types of majors. Political science can go in many different directions, and that's typical of disciplines in the liberal arts. So this is not an exhaustive list, but probably showcases many of the popular options, career fields that students go into. Law, for sure. Again, a number of our students are interested in going to law school, and we do have a lot of success on that front. But in addition to that, law enforcement, we have a great criminal justice program here. We get a lot of students who double major in political science and criminal justice. So that's a popular option as well. In fact, Sam and I, right before we went live tonight, we're talking about a former student, friend of his, who had a great FBI internship lined up, and he was one of those students who was interested in that connection between CJ and political science. Public administration, we actually have a great concentration in public administration here. We teach courses that I've not seen taught at other universities, especially for our size. Public administration theory and ethics and public policy and personnel administration, the types of courses that really would prepare you well for a career in a public office, state, local, national office. So when people think political science, I think they probably think first and foremost of law school and then maybe running for office. But there are millions of people in this country that work in government, and public administration courses help you break into that field. Certainly campaigns, if you go to our website, look under the faculty profiles, we have 2 or 3 alumni who now work in campaigns and elections, a couple of congressional staffers, very popular field, super exciting right now. I've just chatting with a couple of them over the last day or two, and they're just, DC, being down in Washington, DC right now is just a crazy climate. And you can imagine right after the impeachment and trial, I should say. Government related, excellent. mass communications department here, and specifically journalism major. And so we get a number of students who write for the student newspaper. We have 3 students right now, none of them on the panel tonight, former students, but we have 3 current students who actually host a radio program and talk about politics. And they've sort of modeled it after The View, if you can think about different political positions and you know, having civil but frank discussions about politics. So they have their own radio program. That's the kind of thing that we do here that's really cool. And then international affairs and education, people who go into academia, like myself, or into high school or teach in other ways. So helping people, getting back to that point about why people get in this field. All of these particular career paths, I think, involve working with people, trying to help people and make the world a better place. A few highlights, and I won't linger here very long, but I need to highlight for sure the Deal Center for Law School Preparation, which is brand new at Bloomsburg, and it was established with a very generous gift from an alum who wanted to help students go on to law school and provide the sort of resources that would enable them to do that. So that involves LSAT preparation, going on field trips to law schools and visiting them and kind of figuring out what they're like and which ones you might want to apply to. And we have a dedicated faculty member who's a director of the Deal Center who helps students find these types of resources. And it certainly enhances our ability to help students go into law school. The concentrations in the political science program. We have 4 concentrations that I'll mention, one in U.S. Government, another in international studies, public administration, and then legal studies. So we have something for everybody. And graduating from our program with an area of expertise, again, gives you a path to graduate school, law school, or a career. The capstone project I've mentioned previously is either an internship or a thesis, a big academic kind of research project. Students can do both if they want to. I think about 80% of the students choose the internship. And as I mentioned, we have a number of excellent internship opportunities, many of them through the Washington Center in DC, where you can, get involved in foreign service or a law office or work for a member of Congress, that sort of thing. The forensics team I mentioned previously, along with the Model United Nations. And then finally, the 3+3 Pitt Law is an affiliation agreement we have with Pitt Law. Students come to Bloomsburg, they do their first 3 years here, and then they do the typical 3 years at Pitt Law. Typically you do 4 and 3, right? You do 4 years at Bloom, 3 at Pitt Law. Well, they kind of combine a year in the middle, so you only have to do 3 and 3. So you cut out an entire year, you get 2 degrees. And it's a great relationship. And we have sent several students to Pitt Law over the last few years. They've all done really, really well. In fact, Justice Paulus is a 3rd-year law school right now, and he was given sort of a citation as the top student in one of his 1st-year law school courses out of all the students at Pitt Law, which is a very competitive law school program. So we're very proud of that. You can find more detailed profiles of some of our alumni on the website, but here's just a quick look at a few, and you might recognize a few names there. Sam and Deanna joining us tonight are on there, but a few others. Justice is the second from the bottom I just mentioned at Pitt Law, and we have several others. Alyssa Peterson, class of 2017, is now a practicing attorney, Mid-Penn Legal Services here in Pennsylvania. And Dave Abrams at the very top was Chris Christie's communication director for his presidential campaign. And you can see others there as well. So, you look at our alumni and they have many distinguished careers and things that they've done. And this is just a sampling of that. For law school, again, a very popular option for many of our students. This is just a short list of a few of the law schools that our students have gone to over the last few years. From Georgetown Law, Duquesne, Pitt Law, as I've mentioned, Penn State, Dickinson, Wake Forest, etc. West Virginia, of course, because Eli's here and can certainly tout that. We've had a lot of success getting students into law school, done very well on their LSATs, and with the Deal Law Center there, and with our concentration in the major in legal studies. And I would also plug very quickly, we have a legal studies minor that's interdisciplinary here at Bloomsburg that allows students to combine a lot of different law courses around the university into a minor. So those are the sorts of things that prepare students for getting into these excellent law schools. Here's a few other programs and universities that our students, political science students specifically, have gone on to. A few of them highlighted in our alumni profiles. So again, we're very proud of our students going on to excellent programs and establishing themselves in their careers. And again, it's very diverse, right? We have represented here international politics, we have education, we have business with an MBA program, and Sam mentioned that earlier. So we're very proud of all the different kind of diverse directions that our students have taken their degree.
All right, and I think that completes the presentation. And now is the time we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to move into the panel discussion with our students and with Dr. Dorschler. For anyone who's watching on Facebook, please feel free, if you have any questions, type them into on the Facebook post, and we will get them filtered to the panelists. But we will go ahead and we'll start with the softball here. Favorite class and why? Sam.
Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of really good ones to pick from. Research methods is probably up there. But I would have to say probably on the higher level classes, I'd say democratization with Dr. Dorschler. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the call with us. But I really did like that when you're further down the line in the major, you get that more concentrated look at certain classes. And you have all political science majors in classes, and you have a lot of interactions with the professor. So I remember some of the conversations we had were pretty extensive, and you were sitting there, and I don't think you would keep us over too long for class, but sometimes our conversations would keep going and going and going, and they were great. So
what did you learn? Like, what are some of the subjects covered in democratization?
So one of the big ones I remember writing my final paper on the class was colonialism. And I did how India is a lot different from how the Congo is, because the British and I'm screwing myself here with that one, but
yeah,
that's what I remember my paper was on. So sure. I really like that part of it.
Okay. So, and I know one of the things that's vastly different from a high school class and a college course, and ironically, that's going to be a subject that we talk about in another Facebook Live event, is the difference between high school and college classes is, especially in your upper division courses, you come into class and it's not lecture style. Right, you walk in, you put the desks in a semicircle, and then the expectation is that you talk about the reading, you talk about the project, you talk about the work you did outside of class. So the classes are so much more interactive. Now, the caveat is you have to come to class prepared. There's no place to hide. So if you didn't do the work, it's, Dr. Dorschler is going to know. That was something that I feel like a lot of students do really appreciate about college level classes. And Sam, that was something you had mentioned. So that's a great point.
Yeah, I was never in that position, right, Doctor?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Never.
Deanna.
My favorite class, I really like state and local government for the reason that it was very interactive, that yes, we had to do readings, and yes, we had to do, papers, but a lot of it was just talking to your classmates, and it wasn't, just a professor up there standing just talking to you for a straight hour. Right. So that's what I really liked about it. And there were lots of opportunities to like go to Bloomsburg Town Council meetings. And I remember the one meeting that me and a couple of my friends in the class went to, they were getting very heated about the town pool. And there was a very livid discussion from on all sides of the board, you know, supporting the town pool and wanting to, you know, board the thing up. And it was just really interesting to see, because when I went to Bloomsburg, sometimes I forgot that there were people that lived in the community that weren't associated with the college, you know, and that there's a whole, you know, group and body of people that live in Bloomsburg that don't go to the university and are not students there. And there's a whole unique set of issues that they have. And that's what I really enjoyed about that class. And Dr. Deffenderfer did an awesome job teaching that class. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, most of politics is local, right? That's a phrase, right? Most of politics.
Oh yeah, there's so many special districts. You're probably standing in 10 of them right now and you don't even know about it, because there's just so many. There's lots of layers to government, and that class really taught me how deep the layers go.
Sure.
Well, didn't you go on a field trip to Harrisburg in that class too? I mean, we have pictures in our department. Maybe it's 3 or 4 years running now, because that course is taught on a regular basis because it's so popular. But I think it's, you know, each class is pictured with our local representative, and you know, I'm sure you did many other things down in Harrisburg, but that's a great thing that we offer.
I think we met, it was Representative John Gordner, I believe, was the person that we sat in with. And that was one of the first time, actually, I think it might have been the first time that I went to the state capitol. And look at me working there now, going there.
And now you work there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. That's a great story. All right. Thanks. Eli.
Yeah, so I would say mine, I was going to say con law, because I really like that class, but it's like a
So
boring.
con law is?
Like constitutional law.
Constitutional law.
Yeah, so I like that class a lot. Like we went to the Supreme Court for that, like on a field trip there, but I didn't want to say that since I'm in law school. That was pretty boring. So like my real favorite class is African politics, which I took with Dr. Congo.
Yeah.
I took it like the end of like my senior year just for fun, and it was only like me and one other kid in the class, and so we just met in his office and kind of just like hung out and like went over all the readings and like different stuff like that. So it was definitely more hands-on, which I really enjoyed.
And talk about an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Pete, could you talk a little bit about Dr. Agabongo? I know his background. Was it is he a diplomat or?
Yeah, and I'm not going to be able to do it justice, I don't think, but he is originally from Ghana, and he worked in the United Nations representing the Ghanaian government, and then eventually came to the United States for grad school. But he has a real background working in national government of an African country and in the United Nations. So he brings that kind of wealth of knowledge to the classroom. And you know, Eli, I'm sure you could. I know he's told students a lot more about the sort of things that he's done, and maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, no, he has the craziest stories ever. So he's awesome. But no, he's a super cool professor. He was like Ghana's like UN, I guess, delegate for like the longest time, and he has like super cool stories about that too. I think some of his degrees, like he has a degree from like Harvard, like that's sitting like right behind his desk. He's like another one from another super nice school, like right next to that one. Yeah, he's super. That's another thing about our political science department is I always felt the professors were like just beyond my expectations, like coming to like Bloomsburg, like the professors in the political science department, I feel like we're like top of the line, like T14 schools, like super, super good. So that was another like plus to our department.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great to hear. Thank you.
So for most of you that you're all in different career fields, could you first of all tell us what your career is, what you're doing, and just what an average day is? You know, like I guess how did your political science lead you to where you are right now as a young professional, Sam?
Yeah, so I kind of went off the business route, as you can see, because I mentioned earlier I got my MBA here at Bloomsburg as well. But I am currently at Work for Travelers. I am a business insurance underwriter, which is a lot different to what Eli and Dean are doing. But I like it a lot because what I'm doing is I'm dealing a lot with people, interactions. I'm on the phone all day talking to agents or different companies, and sometimes we're talking about topics that are tough to talk about. And that's one thing I think you really get out of the political science department is you get to talk about tough issues, and you have an actual conversation with them. You hear their side, they hear your side, and you come to an agreement. And that's kind of what it is. That's business in general, just dealing with people and having relationships. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
All those days sitting in the democratization class, little did you know that was going to prepare you, right? All the time
exactly.
you had to wing an argument, right?
And then working with you too, I got to win some arguments. I'm kidding.
You have yet to win any, Samson.
Yep. But I mean, I wake up early in the morning. I move 5 feet from my bed to my desk, I think, like a lot of people do. And I'm on the phone all day, like I said, and I'm loving it. So I'm happy where I'm at. Great.
Thanks, Sam. Deanna.
So I stayed a pretty traditional route in terms of a political science major working in state government. I landed a internship. Well, it's actually a fellowship. We were called fellows at the House with the bipartisan management committee. And when I was leaving, that was the summer after I graduated. So the summer of 2019. And then there was a position opening up in the research office, and I went for it. I had good connections. I knew some people that could put in a good word on my behalf. And I had a good body of work that I put together when I was doing the fellowship and the cool side projects that we got to do. And so then I got the job at the research office, and I worked for the members, writing legislation for them, putting together research memos, giving legislative recommendations, based on the topics that they want to cover. And then I was actually the job I have now. So I work as a leadership research analyst for Chairman Ryan Bizzaro on the House Policy Committee. And I was actually recommended for the position. Someone that I had worked with, one of the staffer of a member that I had prepared legislation for, passed my name along because they were looking for people that would be a good fit for a research analyst to work on the policy committee. And so they passed my name along, and I was basically recruited, and it was hard to say no. And it's been great. I moved up to working in a leadership office, gives me a lot more autonomy. I can, set up meetings and do calls and things without having to run everything by my supervisor first, which is nice to have that little bit more freedom, to not be the lowest man on the totem pole. That's definitely nice. And an average day for me, I get up, I walk 10 feet into the living room instead of my bedroom, and go through my dozens of emails that I get every single day, check out my calendar, see what kind of meetings I got, contacting people that would want to participate in public hearings about a variety of topics, progressive and otherwise. And it's been great. I've been loving it so far. I did not expect that the majority of my first year of school or out of school would be working from home as opposed to an office setting due to COVID, which has, its strengths and its drawbacks, but overall it's been really great for me. And it just felt like a natural ascension for me to where I am now from the poli-sci.
Deanna, what I picture your future career will be like is like what you see in the West Wing, where people are quickly bustling from office to office and slamming the phone that, you know what I mean? That's what I picture your life is like.
Walking around with legal pads using, big words, saying like the word constituent,
Yes.
and
guys, right? Yeah. All right, well, good for you. And for those of you, most of the students in the audience are probably wondering the West Wing. So the West Wing was a television show.
Yourself.
Yeah, I know how bad it was. A really popular TV show for like in the mid 2000s about the president and his staff. It's a great show if you get the chance. Actually, if you're interested in political science, that's probably a show you would enjoy. Eli.
Yeah, so I took the law route, and I sometimes regret it. I'm a little jealous hearing Sam and Deanna say how happy they are, man. I'm just busy each day. So when I did like political science, and I knew I wanted to do law, I like the idea of law. I liked all my con law and judicial classes in undergrad. So I applied to law school. I used the Deal Center started like right as I was kind of like shuffling out of law school or undergrad. So right as it was like kicking off is when I was kind of like leaving. So I used it a little bit. Dr. Selznick, who runs it, super, super helpful. Day in the life of me is pretty similar. My bed's right here, and so I can go from my bed to my desk. I have half classes are online, and I have some that are actually in person. So if not here, I like walk up to the law school. But right now I'm just in my second semester classes, starting to apply for internships all over the place. And that's anything from like real estate firms to public defender firms to, I'm like, speaking of campaigns, I applied for like a campaign fellowship internship too. So I'm just kind of all over the place, just trying to stay afloat with work and school.
And now, Eli, what kind of classes are you taking in law school? Like, what are some of the titles of the course?
Yeah, so right now, like my first semester, I took like criminal law. I took torts, which is like another type of law, contracts. Right now, I'm in constitutional law. I'm in property law. I'm trying to look at my books to see what I'm in. Just like a writing class I've taken the past 2 semesters on like writing office memos and like motions and stuff like that.
So for all of you, for all three of you, one of the common threads that came off there was writing, research, communication, right? And that's not a technical know-how. That's not learning a software tool. That's not, learning this technique, right? A lot of that are these soft skills that you're going to learn as a political science major. And I can remember being a first-year student or second-year student thinking like, all right, I'm never going to use these things ever again. I'm never going to have to write a research paper on the origin of World War II. So like, it was hard for me to connect the dots. And what you find out is it's not what you're studying, it's how you're studying, right? Like those are the skills that are transferable to your career. And all three of you, I was fortunate enough to know all three of you, those were skills that were so obvious as a professional, because all three of you were light years more experienced than I was at that point in my life. I mean, you guys were so good at that, and it's easy to see why, because you're doing these things in class every single day. This was a normal happenstance for you as a student at Bloomsburg. So, we're definitely proud of you guys. We're happy you guys are doing so well.
Hey, Eli, I was curious. You mentioned before that the con law class was your favorite class at Bloomsburg. Could you also talk a little bit about how well you think those courses prepared you for law school?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely suggest that if anyone does want to go to law school, con law is definitely the one that prepared me the most. Just the way Professor Strine teaches it is exactly how our professors teach it here. Law school is a lot of reading based, and so I think like that class was really heavy on the reading. You would get a case and you would read like the 8 pages of this case and kind of pick out all the minor details, and then come to class and kind of like just bounce around and speak on it. And that's what we do in law school too. So yeah, I would say constitutional law 1 and 2 from Dr. Strine, and I also took I think it was like judicial functions or something like that. And that was a really beneficial class too. That definitely helped me out. And I'm taking like legislation regulation right now, and it's pretty similar.
How many, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the one thing that I will say is different is the writing style. So I would say like the writing style in undergrad or research papers, it was a complete 180 when I got to law school, which definitely threw me off guard. But I think the overall like themes of writing and like how to structure it definitely stuck with me. It's just the overall style switched up.
How many John Grisham books have you read over the course of your lifetime?
None, dude. I don't read much. I barely have time to like read these books. I can't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, most you guys probably don't have time to read for pleasure because you're so you're busy reading for work, for school, or something like that. So there's this guy John Grisham. He's a great writer. Writes about law. You like all of it. Great.
We have read some John Locke though.
John Locke. Yeah, sounds it sounds kind of familiar. Yeah, James Madison, kind of familiar, right? So I guess what are your career goals here? What's the end game here, Sam?
Yeah, for me, I am lucky enough to work at a pretty large organization within Travelers, 30,000 plus employees, and we span across the globe. So one of the things that brought me into political science as well is understanding that the world is a lot bigger than Philadelphia or where I grew up. I really like the international aspect of politics, and my mother is actually an immigrant from Ireland, so I'm lucky enough to be able to possibly get my Irish citizenship.
Nice.
So one of my goals possibly with moving up in the company and hopefully get up to upper level management someday with your training, TK. I would like to possibly go over to maybe even work in Europe, work in Ireland, because we actually have an office in Dublin. So that's something that I would really like to do in the future. So.
Sam, they don't broadcast Phillies games in Ireland, buddy.
No, I'm sure I could stream them in a few years.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Good point. Fair enough. All right, great.
I just got to get away from the sun. I burn too easily.
I am Irish as well. I have to wear like SPF 90. Yeah, I know how you feel. Deanna.
I don't think my future plans include Ireland, but who knows? It's always a possibility.
You don't know that. Who knows?
Yeah, right? I don't know that for sure. I don't think that I want to work in state government forever. I've been incredibly fortunate with how I got my job, the connections that I've made here, the skills that I've learned so far, and the experiences that I've had. I'm so fortunate, especially during COVID, that I still have a job that pays me and that I have the ability to stay home and do my job. I'm so fortunate and grateful for that. And I haven't completely ruled out a run for state office yet, run for office yet. I think that would be a cool experience because I have, working as a staffer to then, be on the other side. But I find myself being drawn to more, I guess, being in the private sector in the sense of, I'm in the state house and we're talking about, how allocating these dollars to this organization will help them do this. And I want to be a part of that organization. I want to be the wheels when they touch the ground that are actually, doing being a part of the groups and the organizations that we talk about and, the good that they do for our community and how we can expand on that for other people. I would like to, get into maybe some kind of like a government liaison position since it would be really easy for me to fall into that based on my experience working with government liaisons for a variety of organizations about, housing, healthcare, criminal justice, you name it. But I don't know if I necessarily want to ascend further as a staffer in the House of Representatives because it comes with a unique set of challenges that I don't think that I don't know if it would be a good fit for me. I like where I am right now and I'm very fortunate to have it, but I'm still exploring my options. I haven't ruled out going to grad school, going back to school. I don't know if I want to do law school. Eli, I respect you like crazy for what you're doing right now. I haven't ruled out that possibility, but I don't want really to do it online. I definitely prefer the in-person schooling. So it'd be something, once COVID comes to an end and we can resume classes as we normally do, that's something that I think I would look into.
Deanna, we're accepting applications for the graduate programs at Bloomsburg University.
Like different types of programs, because I don't know that do you have an MPA program? I haven't looked at
I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. I'm trying to put you on the spot. Can you commit to attending Bloomsburg University for grad school, right? You're going to be a politician. I don't know, but Governor Campion, President Campion. I mean, he's got a nice ring to it, does it not?
I know, State Representative Campion or Senator Campion. That sounds amazing, and the clout that comes with that'd be awesome. But
it sounds great. So that's half the battle.
Yeah.
I will mention very quickly that there's a new member of the PA House who's a Bloomsburg graduate, Emily Kincaid, class of 2009, who went to Pitt Law and then is practicing attorney and then decided to run for state office and won her district. So this is Pennsylvania District 11. So she's a new member of the Pennsylvania House.
Yeah, I've spoken with her a few times for work and her team. And so that's really cool. The only other Bloomsburg alum that I know was Rep. Brian Sims. And I've spoken to him a few times. He talks about his football experience a lot.
Nice. Small world out there, right?
Yeah.
Eli.
I don't really know what I want to do yet, man. I definitely want to be a lawyer. That's definitely the end goal.
I
don't know what type of law I want to get into yet. I mean, everything kind of interests me. Like I could see something really cool. It's like about like property law or like real estate and be into that. And then I'll watch like the OJ documentary and want to do like criminal law. So I'm pretty much just up in the air right now. I think after this first upcoming summer, when I start getting like into my internships, I think I'll start figuring out kind of where I want to go. But yeah, as of right now, I'm kind of just looking for something to bite out at me that I like.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I could see you as a litigator. I could definitely see you.
Yeah, I argue like crazy. I definitely could. That's why I think like, I don't know. I definitely would want to be a litigator, but I want to be one of those ones, like big ones on CNN, like Nancy Grace talking about me.
That's right. There you go. Hey, aim high, man. Aim high. What helps you decide to major in political science, right? I mean, you had all these different things to consider. BU has 60 majors all by itself. How did you settle on poli sci? What were some of the things you were doing that made you think, this might be a good fit? Sam.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely what I was doing in high school. I mean, I took every AP class you could in the social sciences at the time. I mean, my favorite class in high school was probably US Gov.
Nice.
So I like that. And I my teacher, I almost called him professor. My teacher back then, he was the best and he got me involved in it. And when I was looking at different programs, I saw political science here at Bloom. And I was like, this is just going to fit because it's what I like. I like understanding how governments work and how governments work together and how people deal with government. So that was something that I liked. And also I was involved in student government in high school as well. I didn't hold any of the big offices like president or anything like that. But I worked with the people that did, and I enjoyed that a lot too. So, I mean, I thought I was going to be the president when I was coming into college. So
Look, President Nagel. I mean, let's not rule it out. I mean, let's not close any doors here. I mean, I'm saying.
Yeah, well, hey, Nagel's Bagels is still an option.
Nagel's Bagels, yeah. Sam's last name is Nagel, rhymes with bagel, so that was always his fault. That playing Nagel's Bagels. All right, great. Thanks, Sam. Deanna.
So when I was in high school, I took dual enrollment courses, which is basically like a partnership with local community colleges and high schools where a professor will come in and teach college courses to high school seniors, and then you can use those college credits when you start out. So that gave me a really good head start. I came in with 12 credits already to Bloomsburg. It took me a while to finally to figure out my path. I started in psychology, then I went to criminal justice, and then back to psychology. And then I was feeling a little lost. I wasn't sure which was the right path for me. And then I took U.S. government with Professor Hallenbrook. He teaches in California now. He's not at Bloom anymore. But I loved his class and the way that he taught it. And I was like, if all the classes and all the professors in the poli-sci department are like this guy, I want to become a major then. So then from there, joining the forensics team was huge. And I can touch more on that later if we want to talk about clubs and organizations, but forensics changed my life. I don't want to be dramatic, but it did. And that really even pushed me further on my path to being in poli-sci, because a lot of the students that are on the forensics team are poli-sci students. So then that just helped me meet more kids in the major and get to know Dr. Strine, who is the faculty advisor for us.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Deanna. Eli.
Yes, so I was the same way as Sam in high school. I took all the history classes, the AP ones. So I like the AP Euro, AP World. So I've just always like really been interested in like the way like people interact and kind of relate to each other throughout history. So I kind of came into it with like a bigger history emphasis, but I didn't want to teach history. And so then I kind of just like went up to the political science department, I think, and somebody gave me like this little book. It was weird, but like it was this book of like all the different careers you could do in like poli-sci, like with that degree. And so I just kind of went through that and decided that like I definitely should go like the law route. But yeah, I definitely fell into it, I think, more like really liking history and then kind of like applying it to like the international law classes or like my African politics class, like all that different type of stuff. So
yeah. All right, great. And Deanna, you made a great point. So Dr. Dorsford had talked a lot about some of the other like co-curricular opportunities you'd have as a political science major, whether, you can be involved in clubs and, in activities and organizations. Could you all maybe speak to some of the things that you were involved in that enhanced your experience at Bloomsburg as a student? And start with Sam.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I was really busy with a lot of other organizations throughout my time at Bloom, so I didn't get to do a whole lot with the political science ones. But I was really lucky at the end, my senior year, I was inducted into Pi Sigma Alpha, which was the Honor Society.
Yeah.
Man, that showed some hard work.
Yeah.
But I was inducted in that, and I know for a fact that helped me with my application for grad school, going to Bloom as well. I mean, that just shows that you know how to work hard, especially in the classroom setting, and you know how to bring those skills that you learn in the classroom to the next level. So that was definitely something I liked, and especially you're in a group with a lot of really, really interesting people and a lot of people that are just like you, wanting to work hard and move up in the world. So that was good for me.
Validates what you would worked hard to accomplish.
Exactly. Yep.
Good, Sam. Deanna.
So the organization that I spent the majority, devoted my life to, you could say, was the forensics team. I joined in, I think it was October of my freshman year. So, 4 or 5 weeks into my first year, I saw a flyer in Bakeless, which is where the majority of political science classes are held. And I saw a sign that said, "Do you like to debate?" And I'm like, yeah, why not? That sounds
I do.
fun. Yeah, I do actually.
It really spoke to you, didn't it?
Yeah, it spoke to me in such a way that I wish I could put into words. And I went to the first meeting. And then that first meeting was on a Tuesday, and I went to my first tournament on Friday. And it was kind of like a trial by fire, but I wouldn't take it back for anything, because I learned so much about other people. I learned about myself and the extremes to which you can push yourself, and, you know, getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning to debate domestic relations in Kazakhstan. Like, I had no idea what I was talking about, but then I came out of that, you know, educated about, you know, Kazakhstani politics. And it really put me on the path in political science and helped me, you know, just gain the confidence. Like, if I could get up there and if I could give an 8-minute speech about an 8-minute informative speech about anything, you know, I have no problem getting up and, you know, presenting in front of my colleagues about a research topic that they asked me, you know, to find out about. And it took up a lot of my time. It was definitely a 6th class. And in my junior year, I was president of the association as well. So all of the work that comes along with being a member, I was doing all the behind the scenes work of planning the meetings and keeping close contact with Dr. Strine and coordinating for, you know, traveling. I've met so many people from all over the country and the world too, because international students are welcome to participate when, you know, if they're doing a semester abroad in Bloomsburg. And it really, I met friends that I still talk to this day on a daily basis. I met because of forensics, and a lot of them were poli-sci students. So it just further solidified that the right thing that I was doing was, you know, being a poli-sci major. The other club that I did was Lambda Pi Eta, which is the Honor Society for Communication Studies, which is unrelated to poli-sci, but I was an officer for that as well. So that took up a lot of my time, where I didn't have time to really get involved in the other political science organizations that Bloomsburg offers, because of my work with forensics and LPH. But I think that I really did well with my time on forensics, and I still cherish those memories, traveling to tournaments and, you know, hotel rooms, and, you know, the tournaments and everything was just amazing. I enjoyed it so much, and I encourage any student to join. You'll learn so much about yourself and what you're capable of doing.
And Deanna, those experiences gave you the confidence to then turn into the face of Bloomsburg University for your time as a student. I mean, you were in every photo we took, you were in every print material we had. Your mom probably ran out of spots on the refrigerator to put photos of you from Bloomsburg University.
Every day I was coming home with, like, look at this one still hangs on my fridge. It's a nice promotional, a picture that I'm in, you know, for working in the admissions office. And every day I'd be coming home with a new story about you know, cool stuff I was doing in admissions, or a project that I did for a comm stud class that was a crossover with an admissions project that you guys did for us. So it was it was really awesome.
Worlds colliding.
Oh yeah, definitely gave me the confidence I have today I wish I could see, like, me debating my very first time my freshman year to my last semester senior year, like the growth that I had made, and all the other students that came along with me. It was amazing, and I recommend
one of those how it started and how it's going kind of things.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Eli.
I wasn't on the debate team, but I do want to say I was the number 1 recruit for the debate team. Like, I was constantly
you were the first round draft choice.
I was constantly scouted after. Everyone wanted me to join, but I couldn't. I was too busy.
Because that's because we drafted you to be a tour guide. We identified your ability early in the game, and we made the necessary trades required to move up in the draft. And Eli, we put the hopes of the franchise on you, man.
Exactly, man. You had me working from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. each day. But I was in the Political Science Student Association, so I was a member of POSA for my 2 years at Bloomsburg, or my junior and senior year. I was also a member of Pi Lambda Phi fraternity on campus. But I definitely liked POSA. Like Dr. Dorscher said, it was definitely like people on both sides of the aisle, kind of just like coming to a club. I remember I was in con law, and we used to argue a lot in there. And the one kid who was like the complete opposite side of the political spectrum to me in that class, we would go to POSA and just tag team everybody. We would just pick fights with, like, on hot topics just to, like, just work together for once. So I definitely liked POSA.
It's like the Avengers uniting.
It was, man. It was a good moment when we would just look at each other, and we know that we would just have to just play devil's advocate for a little bit.
All right, so I have one final question here before we sound off. I know we ran way over time here, but we've had a great discussion going here. What is your favorite pop culture reference to the world of politics? Could be a TV show, could be a movie, could be a book. Favorite pop culture reference? Sam, you're first up, buddy.
Gosh, I got to think. I'm a sucker for SNL, especially the older ones. Kind of a hipster in that sense.
Now, hold on. What's old? What's an older one?
Okay, so like we're talking early 2000s. I was still a kid.
Any thoughts on that?
But I mean, you can't miss with like any of the Will Ferrell as George W. or when he says strategery, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, any of those political skits I love.
Yeah,
I think that's funny. So those are pretty good.
Yeah, they are well done. I agree. But Sam, you're a West Wing fan, though. I know that about you, right?
Yeah. I watch a lot of TV, so I like the West Wing.
Probably had to dust off the VHS tapes and dig them out of the archives, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Does Netflix have those now?
We've got them in the department. There's an archive of all the old shows. So if you
really?
Yeah. If you ever get lost in Bakeless, we'll set you up.
Oh, it's easy to do the amount of time we spend in Bakeless, right, guys?
Yeah.
Climbing to third floor Bakeless and trying to pretend you're not out of breath when you finally get to class and you're like huffing and puffing. That was me.
Every day is leg day at Bloomsburg University.
Oh, yeah.
Every single day.
My favorite pop culture
2
one,
tours
I
a day.
go up with Sam's, man, because I was like, even today I was talking to my roommate about this. The SNL, like back in the day was like 2005, and I was laughing so hard thinking about the one scene when it was Tina Fey and Amy Poehler as like Sarah Palin and Hillary Clinton, and it just the one part was so funny when like I think it was like Hillary Clinton is like, and like here's to me like being the woman like closest to the White House, and Tina Fey goes, and here's to me being one step closer, and that's like my all-time favorite one, man.
The talent portion of the debates, right?
Yeah, they were so funny.
The SNL skits, they are good. They are good. Though they're
pop culture. I'm trying to think of like what I see on Twitter. I just see like for example like Trump's lawyer booking the wrong 4 seasons. That's a good one.
Or what about like any TV shows or movies or books or anything that you guys can think of? Doesn't necessarily have to be a skit. Let me give you mine. Parks and Rec. TV show. Parks and Recreation.
That's a
great
classic.
show about the local government. Probably my all-time favorite show.
I'm a big fan of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Yeah, very good show. Yep.
He's hilarious, and he's, it's partisan and he's leftist in nature, but he takes shots at everyone like nobody is safe kind of thing.
Yeah,
and he'll call you out. If you're doing it, he'll call you out about it. And he's hilarious. He's so funny. And I found out about him watching his gerrymandering piece and his special districts piece, which we watched in state and local government. And I'm like, this guy's so funny. And then I saw he had, a 5-year catalog of videos. So then I went through and watched all of them, of course. But
he used to be in The Daily Show. And I don't know if you guys remember The Daily Show.
Yeah. And he's very informative and very funny. And most of his clips are for free, available on YouTube.
I'm sure he appreciates you doing that.
Oh, I'll rep him all the time. He's hilarious and goes the extra mile with his jokes and his gags. It's great.
Yeah, Deanna, I remember the special districts one. There was like a video we had to watch about the like mosquito board meeting.
The mosquito district. Yeah. And they like how dedicated they were to following procedure. Like it was just the 2 dudes running a meeting about a special district about mosquito control. And they're like,
like they literally went
all
through
attendees,
the order
please,
and everything just to
like doing the gavel, like all attendees please say aye, and then the camera like pans to a completely empty room. And then I think in the same district where they had like 2 mosquito control special districts, the mayor of that town ended up getting a disease or something from go watch the video and it'll explain it perfectly. I'm not doing justice.
I would suggest too that like my final one was like the new movie on Netflix, like the 2021. It's like a mockumentary. That one's really good. I just watched it the other day. It has like Samuel L. Jackson, like a bunch of big name people in it. It's called like Death to Death 2020 or something like that, and it's pretty good. It talks about.
All right, I'll give that one a shot. All right.
It starts all the way in January, and like it's so good. Like I think they have a lady and she lives in like Ireland, and like she's like, I don't get it. Like the US just keeps playing this reality show, and like these 2 old men just won't leave, and like we're just stuck with them, and it's so good.
That's how they actually feel in Ireland, honestly.
That's true. I was gonna say my little cover photo is in Ireland.
Yep.
So if you go there, if you need a roommate, let me know.
The one thing I would actually be interested in seeing if it's still around and they show it in schools, especially in social studies classes, are the Schoolhouse Rock.
I just watched that.
I'm Just a Bill. Those are
Yeah.
that's a classic one. I mean,
Right,
watched
that's
that
more
in-
my speed. There you
Yeah,
It's
go.
really old school, Sam.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's a good SNL skit on that one too. In executive order.
Yeah, we watched those too. That's crazy because I'm literally 23 years old still watching those things.
Yep.
We watched those in class too. We watched that
Yep.
in my dual enrollment class actually too. So it's followed me throughout my whole academic career.
All right.
And once you get those songs in your head, you can't get them out.
As much as I appreciate all the thinly veiled shots at the age of Dr. Dortzler and I,
They're not even that thinly veiled, are they?
I know it's really just this very obvious and upfront. I know. Pete, did you have a personal favorite?
I mean, all of your ideas, I am on board with all of them. I don't have a personal favorite. I mean, I love John Oliver, to be honest with you. I catch him as much as I can. I never really watched West Wing, and you probably would think I did, but I was not a political science major in college.
Oh.
Not my major, and you know, so I kind of came through it through study abroad, to be honest with you, and it's not something we even mentioned tonight. But
Okay.
I was in Germany during the first post unification election. And I got to see like candidates up front. I mean, German candidates are not shepherded around like our candidates where they've got all this security detail and stuff. So somebody came and stood right on a park bench. I was like right next to him. He was the leader of what was called the Left Party at the time, and which was the former ex-communist party of East Germany. Like I was me to my laptop from the guy, and
wow,
listening to him rail on unification, and I was like, and just blown over from all this. But that's what got me into the field, honestly. I was a German major. I studied German literature and language and stuff. So
nice.
I studied abroad too. I definitely recommend doing that if anyone has the chance to seize it. And there's scholarships available for that too.
Where'd you go, Deanna?
I went to the university that I studied at was in Poland, but we went to Poland, Ukraine, Czechoslovakia, or no, Czech Republic. That's what Czech Republic, Slovakia. Yes, they're two separate places. And Hungary, Austria. You were on that trip, Sam. You were on that trip.
I was on that trip. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Sometimes I like lose my train of thought trying to list all the countries that we went to. And forensics also did international travel because we went to Canada. It was a great time, and I definitely recommend anyone who has the opportunity to study abroad should go because it was unforgettable.
It would have been an easier question for me to ask all of you what you were not involved in, and for Eli to ask what he was not recruited to be a part of, you know. Well, that's great. Well, everybody, I really appreciate it. I know we doubled the allotment of time, but we had a great conversation. If anybody has any additional questions about Bloomsburg or about the political science department, please feel free to reach out. We work for you throughout the course of this process, and we're happy to do so. Hope everyone stays safe, stays warm, and has a great night. See everybody.